A very good evening to everyone. I'm Neha, Ambassador of Change for GETI, that is Global Education and Training Institute, founded and conceptualized by Dr. Sunita Gandhi with the vision of disrupting the education movement as we know it. Under the banner of GETI and under the banner of Disruptive Education, we organize pre-service and in-service training for teachers where we help them spearhead this disruptive education movement. And we also organize tea talks with much enthusiasm where we invite policymakers, educators, researchers, and various people from the education fraternity to discuss various best practices in education with us. And today, I'm very honored and thrilled to have with us Ms. Priyanka Khanna, who is a financial consultant and an entrepreneur all the way from Punjab, joining us today this evening. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. A very warm, hearty welcome to you. Very sorry for the technical issues that we faced last minute, but I'm so glad that we made it to this live now. A very warm welcome to you. Is that an issue, ma'am? Ma'am, I think you're on mute, probably. I cannot hear, we cannot hear you. Ma'am, we still cannot hear you. Are you on mute? Is your volume maybe at a low point?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
all right.
Ma'am. We can.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share my views on a very interesting topic, which is, whether to study in our own country, India, or, just go abroad and have that international exposure. So, before I start with my views and, whatever experience I had, because I myself have done my master's from Canada, which was like Seneca College, University of Toronto. And before that, I have experienced the graduation course doing here in India, which is Delhi University. So I have experienced both the countries, and of course, I think I'll be able to be very honest and open about it and how the experience have been in both the native country as well as abroad. So on one hand, we have that comfort of living amongst our own people, and having that comfort where you have your own people. Go and approach them whenever you get stuck, and you feel like you have that comfort and luxury of approaching them as and when you get stuck in life. And on the other hand, you have an opportunity to go all the way to a new country, or a foreign land, and as we say, abroad, and then get that global exposure, meet new people coming from different background. And of course, there are many things. The career benefits are many. You get a lot of research opportunities, and there's a lot of practical exposure as compared to the theory that we are being taught here in our own country. But as mentioned about all of these things, there is a quote which I would like to mention here. Education, it's not preparation for life. Rather, education is life itself. So education is very, very important. So this is one of the the initial stage where we are like trying to make or break our life, and this is like the first step ahead. And our late president APJ Abdul Kalam rightly mentioned one thing: all of us do not have equal talent, but all of us somewhere in our life have equal opportunity to develop our talents. So I think we should absolutely understand what is our true potential, where do we really need to unleash it and put it into. So before you really decide on whether you want to do your further studies here in our own country, or maybe just decide to go to any country. It could be Germany, UK, US. Nowadays, it depends on what course you decide for yourself, and then you need to choose the country. So it's not US or Canada anymore. So not only two choices, because when I was ready for my post-graduation, I had like 2-3 countries in front of me, and I used to feel, and this was being fed in my head, that only 3 countries where you can really get good quality education is: one is UK, then the second one is US or Canada, And then the third one is Australia. But nowadays it's not like that. We have a variety of options, whether you talk about courses or whether you talk about different countries. So some facts and figures, very interesting facts and figures that I would like to share. I think do so. We'll move on to the next slide. See, India, of course, after China, has become the second largest country now to send students internationally. Just to quote the figure here, it is not that these are some statistics which are being collected by Indian Ministry of External Affairs. And the numbers, it was collected in 2019. As we all know, in 20 and 21, we were struck by COVID, so not many students were able to go on their study visa. So it was close to 7,53,000 Indian students, which actually traveled in 2019 for their studies abroad. And to that surprise, they whenever they collect this data, they try to compare it with the data which was being collected a decade ago. So it's almost like 10 times more number. So we can see that increase in the trend now. We can see that more and more students are interested and inclined to go and study abroad. Second thing, interesting fact, more than 18 million people, and of course, who went on the study visa first and then they planned or decided to stay there only, got their residentship there, or you can say citizenship there, so depending on which country you are. And so it's almost 18 million Indians who are living outside India now. Then we have 94%. So these are the figures that people started collecting this data in 2021 and 2022, and they started comparing it to 2019 and 20. So 94% more students have actually applied to study abroad. Then there has been a shift post COVID. If you see, I'll go to the next slide. There has been a shift in the trend. There you will see that most of the youth is now very much keen to go and study abroad, with whatever experience they had in the last 2 years, the pandemic, the time that we guys had. The reasons are better living in healthcare. Then there has been ease now in the visa and travel restrictions. I remember when I went for my studies abroad, I remember correctly, there were many things that we were supposed to go through, and somewhere my parents kind of gave up towards the end, and they said, oh my god, forget about the expenses that we are going to bear, but the energy and the time and efforts that have gone to get your visa done on time is something is like really taking a toll on our health. So I remember, at those times, the restrictions were really not that easy. Then, of course, as they know that many Indian students are really interested to come and study here, so they have started making very friendly policies so that it becomes easy for the students to settle there and to adjust to the new culture and environment. As you can see, there has been, in my slide, I have shown you there is actually a 30% increase of people applying to UK as compared to US and Canada, one of the topmost choices that we used to have earlier. And of course, like 2-3 years ago also. And why there has been a change? The major reason of that change is that recently India and UK, they both got into, I'm sorry, I'll just mute my phone. So they've got into the treaty which is more friendly. And this treaty, one of the biggest change in this treaty is that when you go for study visa, you need to come back to your native country to apply for the work visa. Earlier it used to happen in UK, not in US or Canada. Now UK has also changed that policy. So after your studies, they allow you to stay there for 2 to 3 years more, so that you can really look for more and more career opportunities, more stable career, more stable life, and then maybe decide whether you want to continue living there or come back to your native country. So I think after studies, when you get good 2 to 3 years, it's a very good amount of time to really decide and take that final and firm decision of your life. Moving on, so I'll talk about the pros and cons, so that the final decision can be taken easily. And I feel like the final decision has to be an individual decision, but of course, in consultation with your family. because that is a support system that will be there for you all the time, whether it's the financial support you talk about, the moral support you talk about, and of course, the physical support that you talk about. So that is something you really need to consider when you will take the final decision. So when you have to choose between India and abroad, the pros or the benefits of studying abroad, I'll talk about that. The first and foremost, we get a lot of course options. Sometimes I remember when I did my 12th, and I had an option, like to choose something which is very easy for me because I was an average student, not much into studies. So my parents insisted me to do either CA or CS. And as you guys know, it's not that easy. It needs that kind of laborious, time and of course efforts of yours, and then a bit of luck as well, because there's a percentage of some students which can actually clear CA and CS. But of course, they insisted me, so I kind of never wanted to disrespect them. So I opted for CS, but somehow I couldn't clear it. And during those 3 days of 3 years of graduation, I realized that I am not good for something which is more like, based on that quantitative concept. So I thought of getting into, maybe HR for myself, or doing something related to OB, organizational behavior. But of course, at that point of time, I did not have that kind of course which could specialize in those two, three things only. But now the time has changed. So of course, when you choose to study abroad, you get variety of options. So when I chose the subject for my masters, when I decided to go abroad, I actually got all my favorite subjects in that course, because they give you that kind of option where you have the basics and then some subjects and some courses that you can choose of your choice, as well as the thing which you feel like you'll be more comfortable, excel in those courses. So first and foremost benefit is that course options are many. Second, the career benefit. See, of course, there is no dearth of jobs, variety of jobs. Again, I'll talk about, because every function in the office has many subdivisions there in outside India, in countries outside India. In India, like, we have a very flat hierarchy at times, but there abroad you will see the hierarchy, it has got many subdivisions. So of course the job opportunities become much more higher. And of course, when it comes to salary, it's much more attractive, it's much more higher than what we get here in India. But of course, the cost of living is also equally higher as compared to India. In career benefits, you get, most of the companies, they give you health benefit. Most of the companies, they do encourage you to go for further advanced courses, and at times they fund for your courses, for your advanced and updated whatever, your job, as per your job requirement, you really need to upgrade yourself, so they fund you as well. So these kind of career benefits that you actually got. Then you, of course, the most important thing, when you are about to get into that career of your choice, there are many factors, there are many personality factors that play a very important role, right? Because of course you need to appear for the interview, you need to really shine out and show all your positive sides of the personality. And how does it happen? You really need to work on your confidence, you really need to work on your comm skills, interaction skills, and of course whatever knowledge you have gained, you need to really put it across on the interview table, as in very clear words, right? So all these things, when you talk about, it's a global exposure that you get. You will be meeting so many different people coming from different country, different religion, different culture. And of course it takes a lot of big change. It's a big change within you, where you need to adjust to the new environment, talking to new people, adjusting your tone, adjusting yourself, right? It takes a lot of big changes within you, within your personality. And this is what, it's a natural thing that happens. Here in India, you take the things for granted because you're being surrounded by your own people. So you are into that comfort zone. But when you go abroad, that comfort zone is not there anymore. So of course, a lot of things, from the mundane activities, day to day mundane activities, to the big tasks that you need to do on your own. You have to be independent. You cannot be dependent on anybody else. So this kind of change is something which we really, sometimes we join courses to bring that kind of change. But when you go and study abroad, this is very natural. It is going to happen over the time. You might feel lonely, you might feel homesick in the beginning, but these kind of feelings just go away once you really gel in that environment. Some more advantages of studying abroad, which I would like to highlight here, which of course I have mentioned during my discussion as well. It enhances your language skills. There's a different style of teaching that you will experience, of course, because here in India, the teaching style is almost same whether you're in school or in college. Then most of the employers, most of the companies, they are highly impressed when they see that you have completed your course from so and so international university. So you really get that chance to impress your employers only by sending your CV or resume. Then you learn about new cultures and perspective, of course, because you will be meeting so many people there coming from different origin and different background. Then you develop your confidence and presentation skills, because I do remember when I did my master's course from there was not even a single week where students were not required to prepare the presentation on one or the different topics. So depending on the course you really choose, you will get a lot of opportunities where you need to present yourself and your course or the assignment, and also to do practical, the real time researches. So this is an added advantage. Then you, of course, you get a chance to see the world around. And of course, whenever you'll get a vacation in between, you can plan your travel, and you can travel to the adjacent countries, whichever country you will be, and the nearby countries. You can definitely plan your holidays there. Now we'll talk about the cons, some of the disadvantages, or some of the the factors that you really need to consider when you make the final decision to go abroad. Now, first and foremost, it's all about finances. It's about some people in their family, there might not be a financial issue, but of course, in some families, it would be, I think, the primary deciding factor where you really need to see whether you can go abroad or not. But I think there is a solution to that also, which I would talk about later on. But sometimes bank loans are not that easy, because if you don't have that kind of credibility, I mean, whosoever is the income or the earner in your family, or let's say that even if you apply for the file, because I do remember, for me, the first time the bank loan was rejected because of some reason, but of course I reapplied for it. So you really need to check your credibility for that, for the bank loan, and you really need to see whether that fund arrangement is going to be easy, or it's going to create that added pressure on your family. So that is something which is, it's a serious consideration that you really need to take. Then students at times, they face a lot of cultural difference, and they sometimes get into depression when they're not able to cope up with the new environment or the new change in their life. And sometimes it becomes it's not that conducive environment for them. So that kind of thing, I saw in few friends and few schoolmates and classmates of mine who were traveling from cities like Gujarat, or some the cities in south. So I do remember their experiences. It took them like good 1 year to come out of their shell, to really experience the true culture there. So this kind of experience, you can really face. And in some countries, the work visa after studies, it's not that easy. So even if you plan like this, that when you'll go there, study there, and then you apply for the work visa, and of course you'll be able to take care of those finances, things are not that easy. Because I do remember in my case also, I was supposed to come back to my native country to apply for work visa, and then chances are not that great. At times chances become bleak that your visa might get approved or disapproved, right? Then well, quality of education, it depends. Some people, see, I'm from Punjab, and Punjab is some, it's a place where students are outrageously, they are applying to go and study abroad. There are many reasons, but the two main reasons are that, of course, there are not many job opportunities here in Punjab, and second, it has become a trend here. Even the parents, they are ready, they are mentally prepared, and they prepare themselves financially also to send their kids abroad, right? So here, when you see, they don't care what kind of university they are applying for. They don't care about the quality of education. They really don't care about the course that they are finally going to choose and study there. For them, it is just an entry ticket, which will take them from India to any country. It could be a country like Dubai. It could be country like Canada. Most of the Punjabis are there in Canada, right? Because it's easy, right? So it depends. It depends. As I said, if I really need to conclude, this discussion here, you may choose immediately after your 12th to go and study abroad, or you may choose like me, where you finish your graduation first here in your own country, maybe have work experience of 3 years, 2 to 3 years, because it will give you an added advantage. How? When you apply for your study visa, there are points that are being added to your profile, and then your application is easily approved by the university. So, and you will get 3 years to make money and save some money for your masters also. So that depends, that clearly. So you really need to decide for yourself. If you're happy here and you have that clarity in your head that, okay, whatever you are doing is going to fetch you your dream career, your dream job, then of course don't think about studying abroad. But if you feel like that, your potential is something which is not being utilized completely here, or it's not something which is being recognized by somebody, or you really need to really harness, whatever energy and the energy, efforts, and exuberance that you have in your life, then of course I think going abroad is much more better option than studying here in India. This is my personal experience, this is my personal opinion and views that I've shared with you. But of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is something that you really need to decide along, with your near and dear ones, in consultation with them. This is not something, because this is something which will not just change your life. When you leave, right behind you, even your family is also going to change in one way or the other way. So that's what I wanted to share today. Thank you so much, Neha ma'am. Over to you. That's it from my side.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am, for elucidating the importance, as I would say, the pros and cons of study abroad, and also, citing your personal experience that gave a very beautiful touch to it. But before we conclude, I just have one question: is what would be the role of teachers, in facilitating a student's choice towards studying abroad or not studying abroad? What does the school have the role to play? Parents obviously have a very important role, but what's the role and importance of teachers basically over here?
Again, as I mentioned in my session, that it depends on the course that you're really looking forward to. There are few courses which do not have those kind of advanced topics that we really look forward to when it comes to our job. So, for example, I tell you, as I
Absolutely.
mentioned, that I wanted to be part of the HR, the human resource
Yep.
department. But when I was about to complete my graduation, the only option that I had to do masters maybe in commerce or in arts, but there was no specialization that I could do. So I think teachers really need to get
That's
into a
right.
detailed discussion with the student, and of course have more like a counseling session, because sometimes we are being influenced by the people around us rather than having clarity in our own head. What do I want? That is like a big
Absolutely.
question, because I do remember till my 10th class I never had a clarity. I was not a studious person. I was an average student, and of course no inclination towards studies. But then
Okay.
somehow, my parents always used to have that fear that maybe this girl might not be able to even clear her exam and get a good job, right? So I think out of that fear, I did my 12th, and out of that fear and insecurity only, I started my graduation. But during my graduation, I did have clarity that, okay, what
Absolutely.
exactly do I want for myself?
That's a very wonderful thought. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for taking this question and also for that very wonderful presentation drawn from your personal experience and expertise, as I would say. And once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening on a Sunday afternoon or late evening, I would say. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone who is watching this and everyone who will eventually watch this will definitely have a lot to take away from this, considering that if their child wants to, study abroad, or maybe just in general, because most of our audience are teachers. So I think this was a good gainer session for them. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. And I
Thank you
hope to
so
see you again.
much. Yeah, my
Thank you.
pleasure. My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be part of that education industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.